again, and welcome to our service. I'm Roy Berkowitz, your platform assistant. We are so happy to welcome back Rosanne Conway at the piano. And we're very happy to welcome for the first time Reverend Linda Martella-Whitsett, who's speaking to us from her home office in Bradenton, Florida. She was senior minister at Unity of San Antonio 14 years before becoming vice president of the Unity Prayer Ministry, Silent Unity, in 2017. She's an award-winning author. You can see some of her books. Her third book, This Life is Yours, Discover Your Power, Claim Your Wholeness, and Heal Your Life, is now in print. Welcome. Now, if you would join me in the centering prayer. This is adapted from Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. How simple it is to love, and exhausting it is always to find fault. For every time we see a fault, we think something needs to be done about it. Love knows that nothing is ever needed but more love. It sees how far each has come and not how far one has to go. Love looks upon the world peacefully and accepts. Today, my job is to love.
Let me begin by just saying, uh, Rosanne, your glorious music just sets such a tone for all that's happening here in this space. Thank you. Roy, your prayer so beautifully echoes the dominant message that I bring today. So thank you for that. And Kaywood, for you, for your invitation. It's wonderful to meet each one of you, and I'm so grateful we can celebrate this day together. So thanks. I have a message to share today about healing. And it starts with a memory that I have of a couple of years ago when my husband and I, when we relocated to Florida, we were in need of a pull-out sofa bed. So we went to IKEA. And how many of you have ever had the IKEA experience? You know, typically for me, the IKEA experience is one of anxiousness. When I'm walking around and I see a gajillion pieces and parts that it's going to take to put a piece of furniture together. Well, on this occasion, we found the unit. We had seen my brother had the same couch, so we felt pretty confident. We had it delivered to our home, but unassembled. So we did what, what thousands of us do every day. We opened the manual, we started reading through and assembling all the parts, make sure we had everything we needed. And one page by page by page, we assembled this unit. Well, we got to a certain point where what we were trying to do was not working. No matter how we tried to put the part on, it just was not working. And so, as typical, we had to backtrack. So we went back a couple of pages, we looked at our work, and what we discovered is a couple of pages back, we had put one piece on upside down. I know I'm not the first human being to ever misassemble a piece of IKEA furniture. But once we found that, we realized, if we had tried to proceed and try to cobble this thing together in our own way, it never was going to turn out to look like the image on the front of the manual. Nor would this piece of furniture be functional in any way for us. So upside down just wasn't going to work, Well, I was thinking about that even while we were assembling this furniture. And, as a good metaphysician, I always try to find meaning in what's going on, right? So I started to think about where am I aware of upside down thinking, right? And I started to recognize, and in fact, when my daughter and I wrote the book, This Life is Yours, when we were starting to think about the message of that book, we were thinking about upside down thoughts. We just didn't call it that at the time. But there is a predominant upside down common thought to all of humanity, and it is this: I am only human. Religious expressions take this belief even further to say humanity is basically weak, even fallen. Well, here in a unity community, we don't like to think that way, and we say we don't. Or sometimes do we? And when we were writing this book, my daughter Alicia and I were confronted with the messaging that's running in the background, in the subconscious, that says something could be missing, wrong, or broken about us. My daughter Alicia was raised in Unity. She's a Unity kid, and she's a PK, a preacher's kid, which, whoa, that wasn't an easy road for her. I've been in New Thought for many years too, yet that subtle, unconscious even messaging comes back as a refrain. Sometimes when I look in the mirror, right? At other times when I feel frustrated in trying to accomplish something, every one of us humans are subject to that default thought that something could be wrong. It goes to our sense of worthiness, our sense of identity, and all that we know about ourselves as a human. And our culture is set up with this primary message of our insufficiency, really. The religions that most of us were raised in told us that not only is something wrong with us today, but we were actually born in sin. Even when we say we know better, we see the systems in our culture are built upon this message. Medicine, for example, you know, physicians, providers are determined to find something wrong, are they not? And that's just their job. And they will dig and dig and dig, and thousands of dollars later of diagnostics, they're determined to find something that could be fixed. But that's not true of all cultures, of course. Eastern medicine focuses on keeping us well. It's the prevention that matters. And how about our penal system? I mean, if we were a culture that we read about, I mean, anthropologists and social scientists read about cultures where uh, 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 they would gather together and surround a wrongdoer in their community. They would embrace them and remind them of their true nature. And then they would ask them to do some kind of good and to demonstrate their true nature instead of condemning them, locking them away, killing them in righteousness. Whew. So just think about that upside down. And think about like what happens from the long-standing influence of this message. Something that I notice is when I'm vibrating in that mentality of something could be missing, wrong, or broken about me, that my vital energy and vibration seem lower, right? Because this is a dominant thought that reinforces itself. And as we know in unity, in the law of mind, I just get more of that, right? Because the more where I hold my mind, that's where I vibrate. And that's what I tend to see and experience around me. To be steeped in a mindset of insufficiency is damaging, right? Debilitating. So when we perpetuate and spread that upside down thought, unconsciously we hand it to the next generation if we're not conscious. And most troubling, and this is what we have done in the world and certainly in religion, we look for someone to save us. We look for a savior. So it begs the question always for me, like, what kind of God do we believe in that requires humans to remain weak? It cannot be what God is. I mean, we make up a story that God likes us to be weak so God can be strong, and then God can heal us. We set ourselves up to need God as a savior. But we don't need that kind of God, and I think we're proving that in unity teachings and our messaging. We could be instead really championing and proving the healing teachings of unity. I mean, that's the right side up, isn't it? As we say, and I loved seeing this in your affirmation today, I am divine. I am divine. Yeah, 100% human? Absolutely. Yes, and 100% divine. And just take that in. I am divine. What does it mean to me? To be both human and divine, not in a duality sense, but at the very same time. I'm 100% human, absolutely, walking around in my human suit, and I am 100% divine. And when I get that, when I start to internalize that and realize that spiritually, I get to know that when I reach the end of my seeming limitations, there's more of me than that. I mean, it's meant to be a freeing teaching, isn't it? That I can spill out beyond the perception of myself as a contained and limited human. So, where does healing happen then? Clinging to a God outside of myself that heals me, I'm looking for a rescuer, a savior, a deity, a God that has to act upon me, a God that's like a human figure, but we are already human. We can access though, that 100% divine nature. We can learn more about it. We can learn about our spiritual powers. Unity calls them the 12 powers. We can express them. We can heal by means of them. So we get this, the 100% right side up is, instead of healing happening to me, healing happening to me is an upside down thought. I'm just going to say it. The right side up is I heal when I begin to claim and live by the principle. I'm going to say that again. Upside down thought, healing happens to me. Right side up, I heal when I claim and utilize the principle. Maybe the principle of wholeness, or the principle of strength, or love, or peace. So, to claim divine life when experiencing disease, right, is to be able to claim that principle of life. And what do I know about life? That it is the animating power. It is the principle of wholeness and total well-being. That's life. That's divine life. And so to claim that, I heal when I say to myself, I am that life. And not only do I say it, but I penetrate my cellular intelligence with that knowledge. And how do I do that? I act according to that principle. I do something with it. I say, how would I live like a well person? What will I do that is possible for me to do, even if I have some physical limitations right now? What's possible for me to do to demonstrate vitality, to demonstrate wholeness today, right? And the more I do that, the more I am in the state of healing. I heal by taking up that principle. To claim divine love, to broadcast that, that's another option for us. When I'm in a place of disharmony with a neighbor, for example, over a dispute, maybe over a fence line or something like that, right? I can claim the power of divine love, which is harmony. That's one of its expressions, right? And I can say, I heal my own heart in relationship to this neighbor and our conversations. And if it's been uncomfortable between us, I become the harmonious power. And as I claim that power, what am I able to do and say? What's my posture when I connect with that neighbor that is harmonious, that offers harmony to this situation? I'm not helpless at all. I'm not having, this isn't something that has to happen to me, right? Harmony doesn't come to me. I bring it out from within me as I claim the principle of divine harmony, divine love. Wow. So each one of us has this capacity, right? What if we become more masterful in decidedly using our spiritual powers? And the book Divine Audacity that I wrote is all about our 12 powers and the practicality of applying them in our day-to-day living. And especially at times when we're in the middle of an unwanted condition, isn't that when we need principle? We're fully human, fully divine. Think about Jesus knowing this about himself and the stories told about him. I mean, this account of Jesus standing with a person right in front of him who is asking for healing, right? And Jesus knew his full divinity, right? And so he knew this about himself. He also stood in the stance of knowing it about this other. He never said to someone, oh, I feel so sorry for you, or let me heal you. I'll be your healer. No, he didn't say anything like that. He said, when you see me, you see the Father. In other words, I'm going to be an embodiment of humanity and divinity in this very moment. And standing there in the fullness of his divine reality, that Christ nature, he rose to the God standard. That's what Charles Fillmore called it. And in his presence, the other person caught a glimpse of their divine identity. And it is in that moment that they healed. And Jesus said, you are made whole. I don't believe Jesus said, I just made you whole. No, he's saying, you're made of wholeness. That's your nature. And in that moment, being standing there with Jesus as the fully realized divine human, that person who was in need of healing could glimpse their own nature. And in that moment, their thought of themselves could heal. Jesus said it this way, take up your bed and walk. And he was saying, get going, prove that principle in your life. Don't lay here waiting for it to happen to you. You go walk. You heal. Now, none of this is new to you. I know it isn't. But for me, it's so important to talk about it and to get right with the principle, the right side upness of principle for myself, especially when I'm wavering, right? And to know that, I'm not here to just be a hollow flute and God's doing that talking for me. Jesus didn't do that. Jesus was fully embodied in that moment when he spoke to another, but I heal when I am in that consciousness of fully human, fully divine, being a divine human, right? Well, there's so many occasions where hopefully you're beginning to think even of where you've applied this principle in your life, and especially recently, because I think it's that application of it, knowing that it's possible for us and knowing that we can get very good at deliberately applying a principle in our life, and not just applying it, but embodying it. I mean, isn't that where spiritual power is? And that's why in the book that I'm speaking about today, This Life is Yours, that's why Alicia and I propose that at least for 15 minutes every single day that we do some decided spiritual practice, something that puts us in the consciousness of the principle that we're wanting to demonstrate, right? So the principle of life. Again, I'm going to do something that has me feel most alive, most vital, most energetic for 15 minutes. And I'm going to devote all of my attention to this particular practice just once a day for 15 minutes. We propose an entire alphabet of possible practices. And of course, you probably have preferred practices of your own. But when I focus deliberately on wholeness rather than on what's wrong, right? When I focus on the life rather than the symptoms in my physical body, when I focus on divine harmony rather than the snarky conversation I had with my neighbor yesterday, when I focus in that way on the principle itself, and Fillmore said, that's it. We take up that principle and when we do that, the more we dwell on that principle and not its opposite, right? Then we are changing our biochemistry. I mean, everything begins to shift with that micro practice. Everything begins to shift. So there's never a time when I am totally unable. Let's just know that. Even when I feel like I'm dealing with a hopeless situation, there's no such thing. And listen, if you read my books, you'll know that I had a father who disowned me when I married. And for that to turn around, I really thought he'd take that one to his grave. But 9 years later, we had a total healing in connection when he healed his heart. And I tell you what, I will never, ever again believe in a hopeless case. So healing happens. I kept my mind stayed on divine love and harmony and unity with my father those long 9 years when he was away from me. And I know that I did my part in keeping the channel of divine love open between us. So you are able, no matter what it seems like, you are able. Find your able, right? Find your able. I like to leave you with this acronym for the word heal. for just the reminder of what it takes for us to heal. Because remember, it's not upside down, it's not happening to us. I heal as I realize the principle. I take up my bed, I get going. I get off that subject that has kept me feeling like something is missing, wrong, or broken in my life. And I claim my fullness of my divine humanity. And I, H, hold the principle in mind. E, I embody that principle. I make it a living practice. A, I become accountable to myself for the habits that I'm choosing that align with that principle. I'm accountable. And L, I live fully as an embodiment of that principle. You see, the whole thing, starting with the letter H, is about holding it in mind, but all the other E, A, L, embody, accountability, and living fully. Those are all about the action. Those are all about our practice. And friends, that's where the power is. That's what becomes possible to us. And I say to you, take up your bed and walk in whatever is most pressing right now today that you have really wanted to heal in your life. Now's the time, is it not? Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate your attention. I'm so grateful for this time together. Unite with me in a period of meditation right now as we meditate on the power of love. I invite you, if you would like to place your hands over your heart just for a moment as you get started, to just be in touch with this physical representation of your power of love. Consciously radiate the pink light of divine love throughout your whole torso. Recognize love streaming in through your crown chakra, penetrating your body, mind, and spirit, flowing out through your hands. Lowering your hands to your lap, just feel the love streaming from your hands as you simultaneously experience it flowing in through the crown of your head, forming an infinite circuit of divine love, a continuous flow. It's outside of you, it's flowing to you, it's flowing from you. Blessing, harmonizing, healing any thoughts of separation or distance. As Meister Eckhart said, it's God returning to God, self returning to self. And in this state, with hands open on your lap, open, I open my mind and my heart to expansive spiritual understanding. I recognize God is love, the principle of magnetism, harmony, and unity. God is love, the principle of magnetism, harmony, and unity. The power and principle of love is never in the distance. The magnetizing power is where desire matches possibility. Harmony is that which contributes to total well-being. And the unifying power means that oneness can never be separated. So if this is the nature of God, and I recognize this, then I rightfully must conclude, I am that. I am. And so I integrate this knowledge. God is love. I am love. This means I could never be weak, small, helpless, or broken in any way. It's only in my human thinking that I can see myself as limited. I am magnetizing love. I'm able to dream and desire, draw fulfillment from universal possibility. I am harmonizing divine love, able to harmonize my thoughts and the actions that follow. I am the unifying power of love, able to connect with others, ultimately to see no other. So in this moment, let's take a moment to be silent and integrate. God is love. I am that love. I am. And so as I integrate my divine humanity and claim the full power of divine love, I realize that I am that love and that it has power, that I can use this power. I can firmly, in my divine identity, express these spiritual qualities. So I can, going forward, be intentional about my deepest desires, staying in the feeling and thought vibration that magnetizes. I take responsibility for harmonizing discordant thoughts so that I might speak and act compassionately. And I dare to see no other, especially at times of disagreement. All these things I can do because love is my true nature. And now all that I have desired is fulfilled in this very present moment in which I am fully present to the power of love, to the embodiment of it. And so I feel so blessed by this knowledge to be unified within my body, mind, and spirit, all whole and one. I'm connected with all in the harmony of divine love, able to live intentionally and overflowing with appreciation. Just take a moment to experience the embodied appreciation. It's not saying thank you out there. It's not, asking for agreement elsewhere. It's totally here, my full divine human beingness, that I am divine love. And I live in the gratitude of this realization. For this is the truth, and so it is. Amen.
two are a great pair. Thank you so much. And now I'd like to offer a closing prayer. Safety Net by Rosemary Watola Tromer. This morning I woke thinking of all the people I love and all the people they love, and how big the net of lovers. It felt so clear, all those invisible ties, interwoven like silken threads, strong enough to make a mesh that for thousands of years has been woven and rewoven to catch us all. Sometimes we go on as if we forget about it, believing only in the fall. But the net is just as real. Every day, with every small kindness, with every generous act, we strengthen those invisible ties. Notice, even now, how as the whole world seems to be falling, it is there for us as we walk the day's tightrope. Notice how every tie matters. And so it is.
We are so blessed here at Unity Center DC for extraordinary speakers, talented musicians who share with us each week their God gift, their message, their inspiration. And for us as recipients, I'd like you to take this moment and be grateful. If you want to express your gratitude by giving a gift to Unity Center DC, it's possible. We'll put up on the screen the options, but you can give online, you can mail a cash or a check to the address you'll see on the screen, so that we can continue this ministry, which has blessed us all. Thank you.